Urban environment poses a lot more of a threat than any other environment. It's door to door, it's intense. Building for building, block for block, every bit of it is a fight. You gotta keep their heads down by providing overwhelming firepower on them. You just wanna just be popping shots to keep their head down. You wanna shoot so many rounds so that they're keeping their heads down so that you're able to move without them popping up. Hey everybody, this is Richard Maynes. I have 6 years of U.S. Army sniper operation experience. Today we're gonna be reviewing gameplay footage from Battlefield 4. Heated battle right here, I like this. I have no idea what's going on, but I know is they're taking a lot of fire and it's almost like hand to hand right here. All right, so at this point, I would be just taking cover and defending a position. But he's moving. Oh, nice. Well, you would not be running into a firefight with the bolt action. That is not good. Staying on the move, which is good, you don't want to get killed, so keep it moving. If I were you, I would have got in the corner and hid and just defended one position. You want to be holed up in one corner so that at least you're 6 and all areas around you are covered and you can defend one position, because running around like this, you're just going to get shot. You're not going to last long. Yep, that's what happens. All right, so you wouldn't be firing that bolt action against guys with machine guns. So you got to get out of there. You got to turn around, go back, rethink what you're doing, reassess. All right, so he's popping some shots, quick fire like that. Again, with the scope and all that, you have to have that distance. You have to know the distance, and even if you're using hold off, which is like Kentucky windage, you need those mil dots to figure out the range. And you normally would set your scope for hold off at 500 yards. This way you know how to adjust height-wise and distance-wise. But if he's using hold off and just popping shots like that, that's impressive, but it's not accurate. He's in a wide open area, you gotta take cover. You gotta get to a covered position, concealed position, something. Oh no, put that one away. The bolt action isn't gonna do nothing. That's not gonna work. When you're fighting in the urban environment, you gotta use the concealment and the cover for one. You're not gonna be out in the open for sure. And the biggest thing is distance. You know, you're not taking shots more than typically about 300 to 500 meters, because, you know, obviously if you're in a city, how far can you really see without a building or something in the way, or the street turns, so there's a corner. So you're not gonna be shooting long range in an urban environment at all. It's very close, chip shots typically, but you're not gonna be moving with the bolt action, popping rounds off. That's just not gonna happen. In an urban environment, I've taken on a rooftop one time, but you wanna stay off of rooftops, because if you're there for hours and hours, you're not gonna have a chance to move around, and you might be sitting there for 48 hours. So rooftops, you stay away from typically, but we would get a room, we'd have a window, and we would set up like a platform, and we'd be way back in the end of this room so that we're utilizing the angles, the shadows, the layers. It's all about the layers, how far back you can be so that the eye doesn't see the depth, and you're looking and you're utilizing just the one sector of fire, one section. That's the primary target that you're watching, and then you might have your security team, 1 or 2 guys underneath you guarding the ground floors, protecting that proximity. Urban environment poses a lot more of a threat than any other environment, I feel like, because you're limited. I mean, you can't be dropping airstrikes on these buildings because then there's civilians in there. So you're limited in the amount of firepower you're able to utilize. Whereas if you were out in the mountains, it's easy. You're calling in the hire, you're letting those birds come in and lay waste on the enemy. With an urban environment, no, it's door to door. It's intense. Building for building, block for block. Every bit of it is a fight. You know, it's really inaccurate, but what he's doing is shooting and moving, which is good. That's what we do, shoot, move, and communicate. You gotta be communicating with your team, let them know where you're going, where you're moving, if you're moving. One guy would typically stay and fire rounds downrange on the targets, on the enemy, and then the other guys are moving, and you're shouting, moving, and they're moving. Then you pick up a position, now you're protecting him. You're laying fires downrange and protecting that guy while he moves forward. And it's a leapfrog. You're leapfrogging, and you're definitely communicating the whole time. So you're just not gonna run around wild. No, you gotta stay together, move in a controlled manner. Moving in an environment like this, you gotta stay together close. you would take the corners. I would take the corners and set up cover and start laying fire down, and then other guys are moving and they're taking the opposite end. So you're crisscrossing your fire. Interlocking sectors of fire is what we call it. So you have those interlocking sectors of fire. Now you're covering all areas downrange, and you have basically 2 sets of eyes watching 2 angles. You got to keep their heads down by providing overwhelming firepower on them. So with overwhelming firepower, you just want to just be popping shots to keep their head down. You want to shoot so many rounds so that they're keeping their heads down so that you're able to move without them popping up. They might not be hitting him, but they're going to be keeping their heads down because they don't want to get shot. They keep their heads down. Now you're dominating that fire. Now you got control of that target. Now you're able to move onto the objective and handle what you got to handle. Typically a sniper, a shooter, is going to carry his weapon, a sidearm, which is like a 9mm, and he might carry a long gun depending on the mission. He might carry the M4 just as a backup, and then the team leader generally would have the M4 and a 203, a grenade launcher, attached to it so he can drop some heavy fire on targets, and you utilize that team to get away. You're not going to be engaging targets as a sniper team. Once you shoot and you do your missions, which are planned, you identify those targets and you conduct those missions. Boom, once you've already got your target, now you're out of the area, you're leaving, you're not engaging. If he's carrying any backup weapon, it's going to be an M4 to really lay down fire, because a bolt action, you're not going to have that overwhelming firepower. And typically, you're not going to know range, distance, the windage. So they're shooting at close quarters, which it may work, yeah, but that's the last thing you want to do is go with a bolt action against guys with automatic weapons. I believe with the M4, don't quote me on this, but like I'm thinking around 12 pounds. Now you think ammo, and you're thinking of backup ammo, and then you got your sidearm, and then you got your water, then you got your vest. So you're about 100 pounds heavier at this point. And especially moving around, you're having to carry your pack with you when you're on the move. If you were in a hide, or you were in a building, protecting the building or defending a position, yeah, you can drop that heavy gear, but you're gonna stay with that gear. You're not gonna be running around without extra weapons or extra ammo in a heated firefight. You need that stuff to live. So snow would change a lot. I mean, it's slippery, it's wet, it's cold. We did a lot of training in the snow. You're battling the environment now. You're battling that cold weather, which is gonna take a toll. Your footwork, running around in the snow, you're slipping and falling. I was doing some training in Germany, and it was all ice, and we entered a building and there was ice and snow, and I slipped and blew out my knee. So running around really quick on rocks and snow, he's not gonna be able to move that easily. It's slow moving when it comes to that snow environment. So he wouldn't be firing that quickly. That's just way too quickly. He's gotta reach over the rock. He's gotta get that sight picture, the correct sight picture, and he's gotta acquire that target and squeeze that trigger. So that rapid fire like that is just not happening. A lot of the shooting too is breath control. You wanna breathe out, and there's a pause, a natural pause. When we're breathing, there's a delay where you're not breathing in and you're not breathing out. Right after you breathe out, you have a natural pause. And in that natural pause, that's when you're squeezing the trigger, because that's when your body's the most still. He's got to be utilizing his breath control, sight picture, everything else. So that rapid fire is just really inaccurate. Shooting on the move, which you're not gonna do. You're gonna put that weapon down behind you, you're gonna put that down, grab your sidearm, and you're gonna be moving. And hopefully you have a M4 and you plan for that and you have extra rounds. Or you kill an enemy and take his stuff. Yeah, you want a machine gun in this environment. You need bolt action on the move is just not happening. Typically, you'd be wearing like a black and gray multicam, so you're utilizing the shadows. You want to blend in with your environment. The shadows, the black, the gray, the little light colors, all of that stuff is the color of your environment. So you want to stick to that. Buildings are gray, buildings match. So it's really hard to see you if you're in that black and gray multicam. I would be in a building. If he's got his sniper rifle and that's the only thing he has, he should be up in a building, getting the advantage from up above and being stationary and setting up his angles. Utilizing those angles is important. You want to dominate those corners. All right, we just finished reviewing Battlefield 4. It wasn't that accurate, but entertainment-wise, it is thrilling. It keeps my heart pumping for sure. For more games and reviews like this, be sure to check out Gamology on our Facebook and YouTube channels. Gameplay, God, killing it, I'm destroying it. All right, gameplay footage. Just do it. Just say it right now. That was all. That was all. Yeah, was that good?